The story tonight, your first day in eternity. The fog was now clearing. There was a misty haze over the minds of the saints. The millennial reign of Christ was now ended. The day before was the great white throne judgment, where all the lost were cast into the lake of fire. But now none of the saints could recall the details. Their enemy Satan was cast into the lake of fire, but even that drifted out of mind. All that was left now was a good feeling. It was as if they were waking up, becoming alive for the very first time. It was like entering into a new world where everything was new and fresh and clean. It was a wonderful feeling. All was very calm. Before rapture, believers could tell you of times when ugly thoughts of sin would pop into your mind, not to tempt, just to annoy. Now, that never happened anymore. Even during the millennial reign of Christ, sin would pop up because of millennial saints in natural bodies. Now, all sin was gone. All reference to sin was completely gone. No one had to preach against sin anymore. There was nothing that defiled or was mean. No one was ever humiliated again in any way. There were no ugly thoughts to invade the mind. It was like when the Lord caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam. All over heaven, everyone was awaking from a slumber. Slowly, their eyelids began to open. Slowly, a warm, relaxed feeling, like I'm home, bright, shining. You could see others emerging slowly from their rest, not to work, but to everlasting rest. People began to bunch together as they gazed upon heaven's never-ending horizon. Hi, hello, how are you? Shalom, guten tag, bonjour, hola, ni hao, sawati, gandobri, hello. People from every nation on earth were gathered together in one home. Prejudice was no more. No envy or strife. Brother and sister we are, all God's children. From off in the distance, a voice can be heard. It is that of the Father. He is calling us to gather. Come, my children, come to me. Quietly, from all over, we move in the direction of the voice, to a central place. The voice was mesmerizing. It was the voice of God. When God spoke to the children of Israel at Mount Sinai, they were afraid to listen. They told Moses, "You talk to God. Let us not have to talk or listen to him." Now, it was all different. That voice, the voice of God. When God spoke, it was like an energy. When God spoke, his voice pleasantly latched onto you. It captivated you. You felt such calm, so loved. Everyone was now gathered to the Father. Welcome home, children. This is the place I've prepared for you. Welcome home, children, now that your work on the earth is through. Here where I am, you shall always be, forever rejoicing with me. Now go, enjoy the heaven I've made. He disappeared, and we felt this permission of freedom to do whatever came to our minds. Well, we didn't know what to do first. Then came a there were vehicles, dozens of them, trains on a single rail, a monorail that went higher than anything else in the sky. Angels stepped out of the front cars wearing dapper blue uniforms and smart blue caps neatly trimmed with gold, and announced, "Grand tour of heaven departing now. Who wants to go on a grand tour? Get an overall view of heaven? Maybe later." Brandon looked up and saw some hills. He said, "I'd like to go up there for now. I'm going on a hike," and off in that direction he went. Up through the trees and into the forest glades he wandered, without any pack on his back. Everything he needed he'd find along the way. Each mile he walked was just as amazing as the first. There was an abundance of wildlife. He saw dozens and dozens of ring-necked pheasants and rough-tailed grouse. The hills turned into mountains. The scenery was magnificent. There were many spots where he could stop on the side of the mountain to look out over heaven. There was so much to see, and it was completely virgin land that had never been explored. He did have some paper and a writing instrument with him and mapped out the best he could everywhere he went. Every hill, every valley, every stream, places where there were caves and outcrops of rocks. Out over the valley, he saw many hawks and eagles. They came over to him and dropped some Wendy's hamburgers and curly fries, just like the birds that fed Elijah in the wilderness. After eating, he hiked along below a rock outcrop where a mountain lion jumped down on him. He wrestled with it. They played for a while. The big cat stayed around while he made a campfire. The cat sat upright next to him, and they had tea together. A bear came up to them, sat down on the other side, and joined them for tea. With a smile on his face, he reached out with his huge paw, lifted the cup, and drank from it. The bear told him about a nice stream in the valley below with some big rainbow trout and salmon in it. Brandon went to investigate. Sure enough, there were some big fish, but he didn't have anything to fish with. If he just had a bone, he could make a hook. He'd be back later. As he continued on his hike, he noticed some rocks with shiny stuff in them, and he knew that it was metal. If he could just get the metal out of the rock, so he crushed it in his hand. Then he made a fire. He didn't have any matches. He could have just went poof and started a fire, but he wanted to do it the hard way. With his hands, he went and rubbed his hands really fast, and a fire started. He held his cupped hand over the fire, and the metal that was in it got soft in his palm. He molded it into a hook and went fishing. While he was fishing, he looked at the mountain next to him. It was covered with a soft, delicate blanket of pure white snow. He saw Joshua. Joshua was skiing along with some other people. Brandon waved to him. Joshua started on some gentle slopes. There were so many trails and ways to ski down the mountainside. Joshua had already been on hundreds of ski trails. The scenery was magnificent. It was a winter wonderland. like you see in the movies. Big flakes of snow gently falling to the ground. No one ever got too cold. It was just a nice tingly feeling. People gathered around campfire, sipping on hot chocolate with marshmallows and singing. People playing in the snow, making snow angels. Real angels, cherubims, were laying in the snow, moving their wings and leaving an imprint in the snow. People making snowmen, snow creatures, ice castles, and the snowball fights. It's like being a kid again. Reindeer are pulling sleighs with bells jingling. It was like a perpetual Christmas. Christopher dubbed it Christmas Land, and so that's what it was called. Back to the skiing now. There were steeper slopes and more challenging slopes he went on that day. He got to ski along with some Old Testament saints along the way. Jonathan and David were there. They already had some experience with it and were zipping along, catching air and doing flips in the air. No one ever got hurt. One guy went straight down a very steep place and ran into a snowbank, something that right now would kill us. He emerged from the snow laughing. Everyone laughed. The slopes seemed endless. They went on and on and on. There were lodges along the way with so many people. As you stepped inside, you were greeted by a cozy, roaring fireplace. No one ever really got cold, but some like a nip of cold air so they could have the feeling of getting warmed up. In the lodges, there was so much singing, playing musical instruments, accordions, tubas, horns, all kinds of instruments, and people at tables playing games. In another place in heaven is a totally different picture. Bright sun, green grass, and all shades of color of flowers blooming. Janie and Isaac went to a playground. There were hundreds of other children there, laughing and playing together. Isaac and Janie went to the entrance of the playground. It was way up high in the air, at least a couple 100 feet. They slid down on a rainbow and hit a trampoline that sent them bouncing 50 feet in the air. They came down with a splash in a pool of water. There was playground equipment there that had long ago been banned on Earth because it was considered too dangerous for kids. There were swings, seesaws, monkey bars, slides, and twirl-arounds. The swings went as high as the rainbow slide. There were many seesaws with kids going up and down, up and down. One seesaw was so big it had 100 kids on each side of it. They all went up, whoa, and down, whoa, and up, yippee, and down, yahoo! There was also a super long slide. It twisted and turned all around the playground. There it was, right in the middle of the playground. It was the twirl around. It must have had 100 kids on it. They started twirling faster, 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 faster. Kids started flying off in all directions and hitting the ground, but no one got hurt. They landed on the ground laughing. There would never be any more crying, no more pain, no more scraped knees. Never was there the sight of blood from open wounds anymore. There was no need to fear getting hurt in any way. Neither was there any more fighting over who would play on the equipment first. There was no pushing or shoving. Everyone was very polite and kind and loved each other. If two people showed up at a swing at one time, the one that was actually there first would offer their swing to the other person. It was a delight to put others first and to watch them enjoy things. There were always new friends to make out of the billions and trillions of inhabitants in heaven. It might take the better part of eternity, but Janie was determined to meet and befriend every one of them. That day, she met many of other girls from all over the world, Oriental, Hispanic, Norwegian, European, Russian, and African, to name a few. They wore absolutely beautiful dresses from their ethnic past. Dutch girls wore wooden shoes. Native American girls wore moccasins. For the longest time, they sat and shared their cultures with each other and became better acquainted. What happened to Tim Fesh? Well, we don't know. It's like he disappeared. Well, he decided long back to go on the tour of heaven. As the train pulled out, a voice said, "Welcome to heaven. This tour will give you a quick overview of all there is to see." And off it went. Our first attraction on the right, you will see a mountain. On top of the mountain is the throne of God. Wow! Wow! Everyone looked out the windows with utter amazement of the bright, shining mountain. Next, as you look on your left, you will see the mansions of some of our most well-known biblical celebrities: Job, Abraham, Moses, Joshua, David, Daniel, Jeremiah, and the apostles. Wow! Wow! That's amazing! Everyone peered out in utter amazement as they circled around the land development. There was so much more to see. He saw huge mountains, deep valleys, grassy fields, fields of corn, and golden fields of wheat with tractors going over them. He saw beautiful lakes, he saw oceans, and he saw cities, and even small towns where people were nestled comfy and cozy, and were at that moment having their own first experiences of heaven's wonders. There was one little town in particular, right out of the past, lined with shops. It was a nostalgic place, like you would see in a Norman Rockwell painting. Tim got off at that stop and went into a penny candy shop. He asked for a licorice whip, and then walked out where he saw a nice little barber shop with a red and white pole twirling about, and a quartet of men standing outside of it singing away. And oh, the stores on both sides of the streets. You could look in through the store windows that were nicely made up. Audra was there, and Pauline, and Colleen, and Marie. They're going in and out of the shops and poring over the racks and racks of material and patterns and designs of dresses. There weren't any kids there to ask, "Can we go home now?" No husbands to complain about how long they were taking. They could take as long as they liked. And they did. There were all kinds of lavish dresses, shoes, handbags, and other accessories. The best part was, it was all free. You didn't have to pay for anything. It was just a matter of choosing the right wardrobe that would complement your features. "That looks so pretty. You should try it on." "You think so? Go for it, girl." She came out. "That looks gorgeous on you." "Dear, you are absolutely stunning." Every lady there wanted to have a nice variety of clothing, casual, formal, a dress for parties, lounging wear, etc., etc., etc. Everything would be delivered to their mansions. They didn't have to carry any packages. They stopped for a bite to eat at a diner, and then went to the next store. Tim saw them coming out and waved hi to them. Then he saw a bright, flashy sign that said in big letters, "Bowling." He went in. To his amazement, there in front of him were lanes of 1,000 pins. It was 1,000 pin bowling. Not for the whole bowling alley. That was just one lane. Each lane had 1,000 pins. Something that could only be imagined on Earth. He rolled his first ball. Boom, 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 boom. 499 pins went down. The huge machine came down. And then a huge arm swept the lane. Then it set the pins back down. He rolled again. A spare. Next roll. Strike! Yay! Christopher didn't get on the monorail because he heard a sound off in the distance. Woo! 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 There were tracks and a steam engine pulled up right in front of him. It was his granddad Leonard that was the engineer. He got out and said, "How would you like to see my life-size model trains?" "How big is your layout?" he asked them. "Oh, right now I have about 300 miles of track. I laid it all myself." They went chugging down the track, black smoke pouring out the stack, and the bell ringing. Clang, 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 clang. They got to a rail yard where there was a turntable and a roundhouse with 20 engines from which they could select. All day they coupled and uncoupled the life-size cars in the rail yard. These are just a few of the things that happened to a few people in heaven in their first moments. It was full and fulfilling. It was long, but not really. This was the first day in heaven, in eternity. Just the first day in heaven. The first day in heaven lasted for 1,000 years, without anyone really knowing it. Women shopped for 1,000 years. Brandon hiked for 1,000 years. Tim Fesh went on a tour and bowled for 1,000 years. Isaac and Janie played at the playground for 1,000 years. Joshua skied and played in the snow for 1,000 years. Christopher worked on the railroad for 1,000 years. It didn't seem that long, and yet seemed like it had been long. 1,000 years is as a day, and a day is as 1,000 years. This was the first day in eternity. The next day, everyone gathered together and worshiped and praised and thanked God for everything that they had seen and done so far. They didn't know for sure how long they were gathered around the Lord. It's probably another 1,000 years. At the end, someone shouted out, "Thank you, God. You are all very welcome," he said. "Now, my children, go and play some more." In the days to follow, we got to do so many other things that while on earth we wished we were able to do, but either we're not able to do or to do much because of lack of money or lack of time. Now everything was free and there is plenty of time. If we don't do it today, maybe we'll do it tomorrow, or the next day, or the next day, or the next day. It didn't really matter. Everything we do now works out completely perfectly. If it doesn't, it can be worked out quickly. There's nothing now to bother us, nothing to disappoint. No rainy days on our parades, even though rain can't bother us either. What if you want to play in the rain? You can. Go ahead, Janie and Isaac. Go out in the rain and stomp in the muddy puddles. Well, if everything is so easy in heaven, is there still any challenge to anything? Yes, if you desire it. You can do things the easy way, or you can do them the hard way. It's up to you. One of the greatest things in heaven was that everyone got along. There's no need to lock a door, no need to be cautious over anything, no fear of being hurt by something or someone. Nothing broke down or faded or wore away. Whatever you made would last for as long as you wanted it. And oh, the parties. People socialized, got together, did things together, ate together, entertained each other. People still learned things about creation, science, the mysteries of the universe. People had the joy and delight of learning musical instruments so they could rejoice and sing and praise God. No one had to work, yet you could if you wanted to. People liked doing things, making things. Everyone loved each other and would make things for others and do things for others to make them happy. Everyone was patient. There's no waiting in line in heaven. But then it didn't matter because you had all the time in the universe. Time was irrelevant in heaven, yet could still be counted, in some cases was. If you were baking a cake the hard way, you wouldn't want to overbake it. Then there was simply the thrill of being able to say, you know what? We've been here for 2,000 years. Did you know we've been here for 3,000 years? We've been here for 5,000 years. It's hard to believe we've been here for 7,000 years. When the 10,000 year mark was reached, there was a huge celebration in heaven. Everyone gathered round the Father and sang, Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now am found. Was blind, but now I see. Then we sang, we have been here 10,000 years, bright shining as the sun. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Then a new verse was added to the end of the song. When we've been here 10 billion years, bright shining as the sun, we've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Time went by without anyone noticing, and it did come, the 10 billion year mark. Everyone is flying through heaven. There's a big celebration, praising God, fireworks going off everywhere, saints flying in syncopation with the music, and they sang, we have been here 10 billion years, bright shining as the sun of God. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Then another verse was added. Exceeding riches of his grace in ages God has yet to show. We've no less days to see God's grace and so much yet to know. Periods of time were marked off and celebrated. 1 trillion years, 1 quadrillion years, 1 quintillion years, a googolplex of years. What's after a googolplex? An eon. 1 eon of time later, the Father can be seen on his throne speaking to the Son. What can we do now for our people? It wasn't that anyone was bored in any way. No, no, no. There's never a time in heaven, nor ever will be, when that will happen. We got to see things that we never saw on earth, things that were out of this world. Another eon goes by. The Father talks to the Son. What can we do now for them? Let them swim through an ocean without running out of breath. Let them fly through space, be able to literally reach out and touch a star. Another eon goes by. What can we do for them now? How can we show our goodness, our grace to them? Well, there are ones who would like to be able to relive some good experience of when they were children. Let them have the ability to do that, to become children again, to dangle on a daddy's knee, to be held tight by a mommy in her lap. There are parents who would like to hold a child again. For how long? As long as they desire. After eons of time, counting of years thing got old. No one measured in years anymore. Now it was eons. After millions and billions of eons went by, that got old too. No one thought about time anymore, and no one ever got bored. Heaven was as interesting and exciting and thrilling as it was the first day they got there. As the Bible says, that in the ages to come, God might show the exceeding riches of his grace and his kindness toward us. It's only the beginning. Eons upon eons of time have gone by now. You might as well call it the first day, because there isn't any less time than the first moment. When we've been there, ages upon ages, bright shining as the sun, sing it with me. We've no less days to sing God's praise than when we first begun. Not the end of the story, the beginning.